One more thing. Rick Carlisle's recent comments about how ridiculous the NBA's tanking fines are could tell us why the Mavs are refusing to tank themselves. Welcome. You're still locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Mavs for over 10 years. It's a one more thing. Bonus episode of Locked on Mavs. We're talking about Rick Carlisle had some comments about the NBA, about tanking, about anything. And I think it tells us why the Mavericks don't want to tank themselves and have refused to. And this is a thing that I've been talking about in the last couple of episodes where the Mavs, even in these games that they're losing, are still playing all out, playing all their guys, not sitting guys. They sat Cooper Flagg, but his injury is actually real. They've only sat guys that have been injured. They've sat Naji for rest one time, sat Klay Thompson one time for rest because rest because it was his birthday. that was the time they sat Klay Thompson because Meg Thee Stallion threw him a birthday party that was too good that he couldn't show up for the game the next day, which I think is hilarious. And that's not tanking. That is just a weird reason to sit a player, but it was a great one. Rick Carlisle, though, is the coach of the Pacers. Obviously used to be the coach of the Mavericks for a long time. And he got on a radio station this week and called the NBA's fine of the Pacers ridiculous. The Pacers got fined $100,000 a couple weeks ago for tanking and for sitting players that were deemed healthy by the league. The Jazz got fined $500,000. The owner of that team went off and was talking about how, hey, we even won one of the games that you guys are accusing us of tanking. We all know the Jazz have been tanking, and it's not just been those games, it's been other games as well. But that's the thing about this whole thing is we can say we all know these teams are tanking. But do we know the medicals on all these players? And the NBA says they know the medicals on all these players. And that's one thing that Rick Carlisle really wanted to bring up. And so let's hear from Rick Carlisle on this radio station in Indiana recently.
There was a league lawyer that was doing the interview that kind of unilaterally decided that Aaron Nesmith, who had been injured the night before and couldn't hold the ball, should have played in the game, which just seems ridiculous. And during the interview process, I was not on it, but I heard details. We asked them if they wanted to talk to the doctors, our doctors, about it because it's something that was documented by our doctors and trainers. They said no, they didn't need to. They talked to their doctor who did not examine Smith, and we asked them if they wanted to talk to the kid, and they said no, they didn't need to. So this was
Rick Carlisle, a lot of things to say there about these doctors, those doctors. These doctors want to talk to our doctors and all that. The NBA had a statement about this to The Athletic. They said they called those comments inaccurate. Quote, Coach Carlisle's description of the process that went into the decision to the fine of the Indiana Pacers is inaccurate. An independent physician led the medical review. In addition, the Pacers general manager and the team's senior vice president, sports medicine and performance, were interviewed as part of the process. The Pacers confirmed that it had provided all the information requested by the league, and the team reported that an interview with Coach Carlisle, our team physician, wasn't necessary. They didn't want to do the team physician. They got the sports medicine and performance guy, the senior vice president, and they decided to go that direction instead with it. All this to say, what Rick Carlisle is coming out to say, and Rick Carlisle has voiced many a displeasure about many of things in the NBA. In my time covering him for the Mavericks, he voiced many things about the league, about all kinds of things, and he only did it when he really wanted to make a point. And what he really wanted to make a point about is this. And this, I think, is what ties into the Mavericks. The NBA is overreaching on tanking right now, and they did it to make a point. They did it with the Jazz, they did it with the Pacers to make a point to these teams because tanking was the biggest conversation in the NBA. Everybody was talking about it. They went through the All-Star break and everybody was talking about, man, the end of this All-Star break, the rest of this, there's going to be so many teams. Look at all these teams that are going to be bad and trying to be bad for the rest of the season. The Pacers trade parts of their pick in order to get better, get Zubats. And so they have a reason to tank even more so than they did before. The Wizards, their pick is 1 through 8 protected. The Jazz, their pick is 1 through 8 protected. These teams have to tank or else it's going to ruin their future. These teams that barely have a present. The Mavs, they don't own their pick for the next 4 years. They're going to go out there and tank. The Grizzlies traded Jaren Jackson Jr. They're sitting John Morant for the rest of the season. They've already traded Desmond Bane in the offseason. They've broken down their whole team. They're going to be tanking. The Bulls, we don't know what they're doing ever, but they finally have sold off a bunch of their players. The Brooklyn Nets, we know they should be tanking because they don't have anybody. The Kings are just bad. They're just bad. But look at all these teams the rest of the way. They're going to be losing a bunch of games because of this class and how good this draft class is. And they should be. It's the strategy. It's what has gotten teams good players in the NBA. The Mavs have benefited from this. They got Luka Doncic and they got Dereck Lively. They had to trade for both of them, but they were only in the position that they got to because they lost towards the end of the season. And they lost their way up the lottery standings. And so the Mavericks look at what Rick Carlisle said, and the reason why Rick Carlisle brought this up is because he's like, the NBA is overreaching. They didn't even do a full test. They didn't want to talk to Naismith, the player. They didn't want to talk to the team doctors. They didn't talk to me and all that. They didn't do a full investigation on this whole thing, and they just wanted to make a point about this. And the Mavericks look at that and like, well, we don't want the NBA to go even farther with us. What if the Mavs start sitting everybody and all of a sudden they're like, all right, well, we find them first. Now what's next? Now let's get rid of, hey, you like that 51st draft pick you just got in the second round? We're taking that away from you, because they've done that before. They've taken draft picks away from teams. And the Mavs are like, we just got this pick. Actually, it's 49 right now. You just got that 49th pick, the one in the second round. All right, we're taking that one from you guys. The Mavs don't want that to happen. They don't want anything like that to happen. They don't want the league to come down on them in any way. They don't want to be, we don't want to be all out here as part of this whole tanking process. And I think that has informed us. This whole thing with Rick Carlisle, this statement and everything has informed us. One of the reasons why the Mavs are scared, honestly, to tank is because of the ramifications that could happen from the league. Because the league is out there making a point. And it's not because, well, the league might do this. They've already done this. They fined a team $500,000, another team $100,000, which doesn't sound like a lot when you talk about NBA terms. Somebody's still got to pay that. It's still coming from somewhere. NBA teams, like they're not that big. The league as a whole makes like $10 billion, but teams individually, not necessarily. You're talking about, I don't know what you're talking about. A fourth of a gate revenue of a game. I don't know. That's a lot. They only get 40. They only get 41 of those. Wild the statements coming up. Let's talk about the tank race right now. Where are the Mavs after their win the other night? Let's talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Indeed sponsored jobs. You've got to narrow down the field. You have to. You can't just sit with every single person that's sending a resume and try and sift through every single one of them and figure out who is the right hire for you. This is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs. They help you reach the right people who actually fit what you're looking for, skills, expertise, locations. You're not just hoping that the right candidate just stumbles into your office or across your post somewhere on LinkedIn or whatever. Here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Listeners of this show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help you get your premium status for the job that it deserves. Indeed.com/podcast is where you need to go. Indeed.com/podcast. Go there right now. Support our show by saying you heard about it, heard about Indeed on this podcast. Again, it's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Also brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook is all kinds of things that you can use to get in on the action, including go to the action. Pacers just in the NBA Finals. The Mavs in the NBA Finals right before that. And you could be at the NBA Finals right after them. With a sweepstakes that FanDuel is giving you, here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future. You'll be automatically entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. You can go check it out with FanDuel. All you have to do is use your profit boost on an NBA future. We've talked about Rookie of the Year a lot lately, but Cooper Flagg minus 450 on that one. Con Knipple plus 300 on that to win Rookie of the Year. So you could bet on Flagg. You could bet on Con if you think that Cooper Flagg's going to be sitting out the rest of the season. Clutch Player of the Year. Be wild to bet on Clutch Player of the Year, but you can do it. Anthony Edwards plus 100. Tyrese Maxey plus 250. SGA plus 700. Cade Cunningham plus 700. Jokic plus 4,000. Still on the board there. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
It's a One More Thing bonus episode of Locked On Mavs. We've got the Everydayer Club, LockedOnMavericks.supercast.com. We've got the text line where you can get texts. Both of them get you access to the Discord, and so you can get access to that. The Discord, not like people arguing. I guess maybe they could be, but it's like a Slack channel. It's like a Slack for Mavs fans, for just Locked On Mavs listeners. So check the QR code, links in the description to get access to that. Let's talk about the tank standings. The Mavs win their game against the Brooklyn Nets. And so now this is what the tank standings look like. Sacramento is still up there at the top, even though they won their game the other night against the Grizzlies team that was just playing nobody. And that's why I'm worried about these tank standings, because the Grizzlies, they lost to the Kings. They're playing nobody. They're playing guys on the team that I didn't even know. I'm not going to lie. Pacers lose to the Mavericks the other night. Pacers lose again. Brooklyn loses. I don't think the Mavericks are getting into that tier, those top teams. The Wizards might be able to get in the Brooklyn, Indiana, Sacramento tier if Sacramento wins a couple more games. But that top four, the Mavs, I don't think could break into that at all. The Pelicans, they win another game. This is the one team I think that might give the Mavs a chance. The Pelicans have the 5th spot in the lottery right now. They move down. Washington is down 4th in the tank standings. And the Pelicans are the one team I think that the Mavs can catch in this. They're 4 wins separating between the two of them. Pelicans have no reason to tank. They're finally healthy. They've got all these guys. Zion Williamson's playing. The rookies are into the season. They've played a lot. They have no reason to tank. They don't own their pick at all. There's no protections. There's nothing. And so this is a team that could actually try and win some games to the end of the season. Go out there, see what you got in some of these guys. And that's the one that you hope. And then maybe the Mavs can either stay at 7 if the Grizzlies pass them, or they move to 6 if the Pelicans pass them and move all the way down. And so that's the one. The Jazz, their pick is top 8 protected. I don't think people really fully realize how desperate the Jazz are going to be. The Jazz, as they sit in 6th right now, they have they're pretty healthily keeping their pick. Because if their pick falls to 9, it's a 3.7% chance they lose their pick. So right now, basically, that's the chance that the Mavs, the Jazz will lose their pick. If the Jazz go to 7, where the Mavs are right now, it's a more like 14% chance. To go from 4 to 14% chance of losing your first round pick with that team, that's tough. The Jazz are going to do everything they can, which is why they got fined recently for tanking. I talked about how we know that they're tanking, and you can talk about all the medicals, and Jaren Jackson Jr. has they shut him down for a reason, and Nurkic, they shut him down for a deviated septum, and he's getting surgery. Everybody's getting surgery. DeAndre Hunter, who they just traded for, is getting surgery for the rest of the season. They keep trading for these guys that need surgery to end the season. But man, the Jazz you're not moving the Jazz out of that spot. They just cannot. If the Jazz somehow get past the Pelicans here, then they only have a 0.6% chance of losing their pick. That's where they want to be. If they move up to the 5th spot in the lottery, then they're almost guaranteed that they'll keep their pick. Man, to go from a 3.7% chance to a 14% chance of losing your pick, that's tough. That's tough. So the Mavs, where the Mavs are right now, is they're still in 7th. They're the same amount of wins as the Grizzlies. They have one more loss than the Grizzlies, so they're a half game ahead of them in the lottery standings, if we're talking about it like this. And the Grizzlies, they've been bad, man. They've been doing the tank thing where they've been sitting John Morant the rest of the season, probably after they talked about trading him. They've traded Jaren Jackson Jr. away. They already traded Desmond Bane. Bunch of Zach Edey's hurt and still out. Cedric Howard's not been playing. They're coming for the Mavericks in this. And this is why I've been talking about how the stakes are so high for the Mavericks. But that's where they are in the lottery standings. And we'll be following that all throughout the rest of the season, I bet, and giving you updates on it. And that's the one more thing. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs.